You are not sick. You are not lazy. You are not weak. And you are definitely not complaining for no reason. You are simply tired in the kind of way that 8 hours of sleep cannot fix. In the kind of way where, even on ordinary days, when nothing especially dramatic happens, you still come home feeling as if you have just finished running an invisible marathon. You know that feeling. I do not need to describe it any further. What I want to ask you is this. Have you ever truly stopped and asked yourself, where does this exhaustion actually come from? Not from today, not from this week's work, but from somewhere deeper, farther back, and older than you want to admit? Because for our generation, people born in the late 1960s and the 1970s, exhaustion is not an event. It is a cumulative process, silent, patient, and very, very long. Today, I want to talk about 5 reasons behind that exhaustion. Not the familiar reasons you have already heard 1,000 times, but the deeper ones, the kind that might make you exhale quietly and say, yeah, that's me. Reason number 1. We are the first generation forced to constantly reinvent ourselves, without anyone ahead of us to ask for guidance. Think about your father, or your grandfather. Maybe he worked the same job for 30 years, the same company, the same set of skills. He retired with a gold watch and a farewell party. His life was not easy, but it had a shape. It had a path. You could see the destination from the beginning. But you started your career in one world. Then the internet arrived and erased part of that world. Then the financial crisis of 2008 erased another part of it. Then came the pandemic. Every single time, you had to stand back up, look around, and ask yourself, who do I need to become now? Not once, many times. And here is the part nobody talks about. Constantly reinventing yourself does not only consume energy, it consumes something even more valuable, your sense of identity. Every time you adapt, you leave a piece of your old self behind. You leave behind the profession you once felt proud of. You leave behind the skill set you spent an entire decade building. You leave behind the way you once defined yourself. And you do all of that silently, without complaining, because that is what our generation does. We adapt and keep moving forward. But inside, every one of those moments of keeping going leaves behind a faint scar, a small unanswered question. What am I really trying so hard for? After 30 years of constant adaptation, constant reinvention, constant pressure to prove yourself all over again, your body remembers every one of those moments, even when your mind has forgotten them. And that is part of the reason you are tired in a way that rest cannot fix. Because this is not physical exhaustion. This is the exhaustion of someone who has had to become too many different versions of themselves without ever having the time to ask, which version is actually me? Reason number 2, we carry emotional pain without having the language to name it. When you were a child, if you were sad, what did adults usually say? Come on, it is nothing. Other people have it much worse. Be strong, and you became strong. Because you did not have any other choice. Our generation grew up before words like trauma, burnout, and emotional boundaries existed in everyday life. Not because those things were not real, but because we did not yet have the language to describe them. And when you do not have words for something, you cannot process it. You can only bury it and keep moving forward. You buried a lot of things. The loneliness you felt as a child when nobody asked how you were really doing. The disappointment from relationships that did not become what you hoped they would be. The silent fear during the moments when life was falling apart, yet you still had to stay strong for everyone else. The times you wanted to stop but could not stop because too many people still needed you. You did not complain. You did not make a scene. You coped by not coping and called it maturity. But the body does not forget. There is a phrase psychologists often use: the body keeps the score. The body records everything the mind refuses to confront. Every time you swallowed an emotion, instead of expressing it, your body stored it somewhere. In your constantly tense shoulders. In your interrupted sleep. In that heavy feeling you wake up with every morning for no clear reason. You are not exhausted because you worked too hard today. You are exhausted because you have stayed silent for too long with yourself. And now, at the age of 50, when life finally begins to slow down a little, when the children are grown, when work becomes slightly less chaotic, all those buried things begin to rise back to the surface. Not as tears, not as anger, but as exhaustion, as emptiness, as that strange feeling that you are living your life without truly being present inside it. That is not a sign of weakness. That is the bill for decades of courage, practiced in ways nobody ever saw. Courage in silence, courage alone, courage without anyone ever stopping to ask, "What about you? Are you okay?" Reason number 3, we are the first generation forced to grow old in front of the entire world. Previous generations grew old quietly. Your grandparents aged within their small circles, family, neighbors, church. Nobody outside those circles needed to know. Nobody was watching. Nobody was comparing. But you are growing old on the internet. Every morning you pick up your phone and the algorithm begins working. It shows you the 28-year-old who just built $1 million company, the 32-year-old traveling the world, financially free, glowing with energy, the 25-year-old confidently talking about living authentically in a way your entire generation was never truly allowed to. You look, you keep scrolling, you say nothing, but somewhere inside, something very small and very quiet begins asking, "Where did I go?" This is not jealousy. Do not misunderstand. You are not jealous of those younger people. You probably even wish them well. But there is an uncomfortable truth hidden here. When you constantly see images of youth, energy, and new beginnings, while you are standing in the middle of a life already filled with too many things that cannot be undone or restarted, it creates a kind of quiet pain that does not have an exact name. It is not regret, not entirely. It is not hopelessness either. It feels more like standing outside a brightly lit room, looking in, and knowing you once belonged there, you just cannot clearly remember what it felt like anymore. And what is the cruelest part? You cannot turn it off. Social media does not have a button that says, "I am 50, 2 years old, please leave me in peace." The algorithm does not care what stage of life you are in. It only knows one thing: keep you scrolling. And every scroll gently, accidentally reminds you once again that the world is moving to a rhythm you can no longer fully keep up with. 47 times a day, every day, added together, that is no longer distraction. That is erosion. Our generation was never prepared for this. Nobody was. Because no generation before us ever had to grow old this way publicly, continuously, inside an endless loop of comparison. And the exhaustion that comes from that is not exhaustion because you are failing. It is exhaustion from trying to hold on to your sense of self inside an environment specifically designed to make you question yourself every day, every hour, every time you swipe the screen. It is a silent battle, and you are fighting it alone. Reason number 4, we were taught how to be present for other people, but nobody taught us how to be present for ourselves. You are good at taking care of other people. Actually, not just good, you are exceptional at it. You can tell when a friend is struggling just by hearing their voice. You remember birthdays, personal stories, the specific problems someone is going through. Whenever somebody needs help, you are there. Always. But honestly ask yourself this, when you sit alone in silence, with nobody needing anything from you, with nothing left to do, what do you feel? Many people from Generation X would answer truthfully, discomfort. Not because you do not know how to rest, but because your entire life you have defined yourself through usefulness, through productivity, through being needed. As a child, you were praised for being well-behaved, for helping others, for not causing trouble. As an adult, you were judged through productivity, responsibility, and your ability to carry burdens. An entire system around you, family, school, society, consistently taught you the same lesson. Your value comes from what you can do for other people, and you learned that lesson very well. The problem is, nobody ever taught the next lesson. Nobody taught you how to sit still without feeling guilty. Nobody taught you how to receive help without feeling like a burden. Nobody taught you that rest is not a reward after everything is finished, it is a basic human right. So when you rest, you are not truly resting. You sit on the couch while your mind continues running through a list of unfinished tasks. You go on vacation, but still check your emails. You watch a movie while half your mind is already worrying about tomorrow. Your body stops, but you, the real, you never truly stop. And here is the most painful part. After decades of being present for everyone else, You no longer know what you actually enjoy. Not enjoy in the superficial sense of hobbies, but in the deeper sense, what truly makes you feel alive. What makes you wake up wanting to get out of bed, not because of responsibility, but because of genuine excitement. Many people from Generation X stand in front of that question, and for the first time in their lives have no answer. Not because they never had dreams, but because they spent so long taking care of everybody else's dreams that they forgot they once had dreams of their own. The exhaustion that comes from this is not physical exhaustion. It is the exhaustion of someone who has spent an entire lifetime facing outward and never once truly turned inward to ask, "Am I okay? What do I need? What do I want not for anyone else but only for myself?" That question sounds simple, but for our generation, it may be one of the hardest questions we have ever had to answer. Reason number 5. We have had to carry our own pain while still being the strongest person in the room. There is a role our generation accepted a very long time ago, so long ago that we forgot it was ever a role. The role of the one who is fine, the person everyone calls when things fall apart, the person children look to for calmness, the person aging parents lean on for safety, the person co-workers depend on to keep everything together, the person friends call at 11 o'clock at night when they no longer know what to do. You are that person. You have always been that person, and you are very good at playing that role. So good that nobody realizes that sometimes after hanging up the phone, after closing the bedroom door, after turning off the lights, you lie down and feel completely empty, like a phone that spent the entire day charging everyone else, only to end the night with 3% battery remaining. Nobody sees that, because you never let anyone see it. Not because you are arrogant, not because you do not trust people, but because, a very long time ago, you quietly understood, even though nobody directly said it, that your role was to give, not receive, to be the support system, not the one needing support, to be the answer, not the question. So you kept giving, day after day. But here is the truth nobody ever told you. Constantly being the strongest person in the room does not only drain your energy, it also creates a very specific kind of loneliness. Because when you are always the caretaker, you are never truly seen. People see your strength. They see your reliability. They see the version of you that always has answers, always knows what to do. But the real you, the one who is tired, uncertain, quietly wishing someone would ask how you are doing just once, that version of you is almost never seen. Because you have hidden it too well, for too long, and over the years that loneliness accumulates. Not loneliness from lacking people around you. You might live in a house full of people, but a deeper kind of loneliness. The feeling that nobody truly knows what you are carrying. Nobody truly asks. And even if someone finally did ask, you would not know where to begin anymore, because you have stayed silent for so long that silence itself has become your default language. That is the final reason, and perhaps the heaviest one of all. Not because you work too much, not because you rest too little, but because throughout all those years, while you were being the support system for everyone around you, nobody was there to support you, and you allowed that to become normal. But it is not normal. You deserve to be asked how you are doing. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to have someone sit beside you and sincerely ask, "How are you really doing?" and then patiently wait for the honest answer, not the polite one. You have spent too much time giving too much of yourself away. It is time, even if only once, to allow yourself to receive something in return. So those are the 5 reasons. Not 5 reasons for you to feel worse about yourself, but 5 reasons for you to finally stop asking, "Why am I like this?" and begin understanding that there are reasons behind it. There is a history behind it. It is completely understandable. You are not broken. You are simply carrying too much, for too long, and too alone. And this is what I want to say to you directly, not as advice, but as someone sitting in the same room with you. Your exhaustion does not need to be justified. You do not need to completely collapse before you are allowed to say, "I need to stop." You do not need to wait until you have nothing left to give before you finally begin keeping a small part of yourself for yourself. You can start today, with something small, not by changing your entire life. Just this: the next time someone asks if you are okay, try answering honestly for once. Our generation has survived too many things. That is beyond debate. But surviving and truly living are 2 very different things, and you deserve to truly live. If this video expressed something you've been carrying inside for a very long time, but never found the words to describe, leave a comment. It does not need to be long. It just needs to be honest. Because sometimes, what we need most is not an answer. It is knowing that someone else feels the same way we do, and that we are not alone in it. See you in the next video.